Hello and welcome back to episode 3 of the Emotional Support Penguin with Joel
and Amanda.
We're so glad to have you. We're here to offer encouragement for your week because sometimes you need to waddle on out and reset your day.
Absolutely.
Stop, drop, and waddle. So, hey, guys, welcome back. We are thankful for the love that you've been showing us on the podcast. It's great to hear things. We'd love to hear from you all if you have topics or anything that you'd like to cover. It's been fun. We've already heard back from some people, so we're writing notes of things that we're going to be covering in the future here.
I think next week's podcast will actually come from a viewer, so that'll be fun.
We love that. So, Amanda, what is the topic that we're going to be covering today?
The one that we did today is you are enough, and you are. And it's something that Joel actually says a whole lot. He says it to people. He says it when anyone's feeling down. He says it to me. He used to say it to me a lot. But it's something that I feel like everyone should know. And I just feel like it's something that will resonate with everyone and not just any one person, because everyone should know that they are enough.
Yeah. Well, what do you really mean when you say that someone is enough? What do you think that means?
So I think a lot of the time we get caught up in this, like, am I enough? And then the next thought is I will then compare myself to someone else. And Joel's favorite quote is,
comparison is a thief of joy.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think it's really important to know that it's not a comparison. It doesn't mean that you're being measured to someone or judged against another person. And I think that's where a lot of us go wrong, and we're trying to obtain this enoughness that doesn't really exist when, as we are enough.
And one of the future podcasts that we already have on the list is the effect of social media on our self-esteem, on our mental health, and things like that. So that ties into the idea of this. And that's part of the thing. We like to look at it holistically as humans because, like we talked about last week with the duality of who we are, we're not just a simple black and white on everything. And with who we are as a person and our self-esteem and self-worth is tied in so many different things.
Right.
And being enough, comparing to others is one of the first ways that you're going to really ruin that for yourself. And I like the idea of, like, it's not how hard we try or like the time, grit, and energy that we put into it. That doesn't necessarily have the representation of who we are as a person.
Absolutely. And it's something that we have to realize it can't be given to you by someone else. Like me saying to you, you are enough. Like, yes, absolutely. Believe it and let it give you the warm and fuzzy. But in the long run, in the whole scheme of things, you really want to embrace that. And you want to know that about yourself. Like, that's when it becomes really true, when you can sit back and say, like, yeah, it's not something given to you.
We've talked about how we're people pleasers.
Yes.
And I know growing up, especially, I needed someone saying, "Attaboy, you're doing great." And if I didn't have the validation, I'd be like, "Oh, maybe I'm not doing it right, or maybe I'm not enough." And I went through a really hard stage in life where I was constantly like second guessing myself.
Me too.
And huge shout out to counseling, because that changed me as a person entirely when I realized, like, okay, well, I don't need a relationship or a person or someone else on outside to validate that I am enough.
Right.
Like, who I am as a person and what I'm aiming to be is what is enough.
And when we say that, we're not striving, like, if you are enough, you have, like, reached perfection. Like, that is not it. Right. You're never done growing. And I know we've said this. You're never done growing and learning and changing. And it doesn't mean because you have these things that you want to change that you're not enough as you are right now, or you're not enough as you were yesterday, even though you learned something new today. Yeah. And that's the hardest part to kind of wrap your mind around, is like, right now, in this very moment, I am enough. I'm right where I need to be.
Yeah. And the most common example of people that are struggling with this, and I don't want to do broad stroke, things here. Most of the time it's relationships, when people are if they think that if they're single, then they're not enough, and that
they're not worthy.
The reason that they're single is because they aren't enough, and that they're just waiting for this certain person to come along and then make everything enough for them. Which is
that rolls back to not getting the validation from someone else, like needing that relationship to feel like enough is you're giving all of your, value in yourself to someone else. You're giving all of them, like them all the power.
And another podcast we'll talk about in the future is some of the love languages. And one of Amanda's love language is words of affirmation.
Yes.
And so if I don't give those word affirmation, that's definitely something that she, needs in her life. But if she's only finding her self-worth because I tell her how beautiful she is or how smart she is or, how proud I am of her, then she's gonna, fall short of what she needs to feel fully self-confident and fully enough in her own eyes.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
I can't always give that to her. There'll be days where I'm struggling or the things that I'm dealing with. And obviously I'm gonna say those things every day as much as I can. But, if it's all built up on me, that means I'm then having to deal with everything that I'm dealing with, but then also be like, oh man, if I don't say nice things to Amanda, then she's gonna fall apart.
Right.
And that's not how we should be living. I mean, you shouldn't walk around on eggshells in how you are dealing with things in order to help someone else feel more confident. And we see that sometimes with people, their ego is so caught up in like their power or their job or whatever, their money or things like that. And so then they'll get, puffed up in their chest and they'll flaunt their car, they'll flaunt their job or whatever it is in order to be like, yeah, I'm enough. This is, have you seen my list of accomplishments?
Right. Exactly.
And then I'll be like, well, have you been nice to someone? Have you loved someone? Have you been, gave unto the least of these of the people?
Right.
Then let's talk.
Yeah. One of the things about this is when you start feeling like, when you've gotten to the point where you've convinced yourself, where you believe like I am enough, where I am and what I'm doing is good enough. Like when you really believe that, aspects of your life seem to get easier. Like, you need help in something and you're okay with asking for it. You're not as ashamed to ask for that help because like you're in a really good place.
You don't feel inadequate.
And you don't feel inadequate. You're like, I'm just trying to learn.
We all have blinders in our life of things that we don't get perfectly right. Like I'm not great with organization. And so Amanda helps me with some things like that and staying on task. So we have certain things, you might see that from the podcast, little ADHD, but the idea is that we need help. And so we're better together and things definitely help when we can ask for those things. And that maybe that's professional counseling. Maybe
absolutely.
That's, some type of, way that you can get diagnosed for something that you're dealing with and that if you think you're struggling with something in particular, it's okay to ask for help and we do often. And so it's so important to know that when you are aware of who you are as a person, then it makes it be easy. Like, all right, well, I'm struggling with this and I do need help. I am enough, but I know myself enough to know that this is a thing that I need help with.
And being able to acknowledge and accept like the imperfections and the weaknesses and ask for help for those types of things. But still knowing that they don't affect your worth. And I feel like that's such a big thing of just really settling in and knowing that, you're worthy.
Yeah. And to our younger audience, like, don't buy into the hype of like, you aren't enough unless you have this, unless you have this look, unless you have this certain thing, unless you're a sports star, or unless you're things. I dealt with that. Like, I was only mediocre at sports and I was kind of like a nerdy goober. And so I put kind of my worth into social capital. Like, how many friends can I have? Like, how many people can I talk to? Like, I would go around to every lunch table at the cafeteria to be like, still friends? Hey. And jokes and stuff like that. So that everybody, I would have like a touch point on everyone. So that was my felt was my value almost in high school. But it, that comes the thing, like if there is that one person that just doesn't like you and not because of who you are, it's just, you don't click.
Right.
And then like it would crush me,
And then you get stuck. Right. You're in this like perpetual circle of always trying to prove yourself, right? Like always trying to prove that you are this certain type of person. If you're having to try really hard and like feeling like it's not coming naturally, I feel like that's not always great.
Finding your group of people that you can kind of just be who you are.
Right,
And
yeah.
Like if you could just have a spy camera in like the room in here sometime when we're just like goofing and gabbing and like anime fighting or like just ridiculous songs that we're singing. Like, okay, not too much for that.
Yeah, come on.
Camera, come on. But like goofy goobers and when we hang out with friends or we have a game night or go out, then we just feel comfortable and just be silly and be who you are as a person. It just feels like this weight's off your shoulder. You can just be who you are. And we want to have that for you all, is that you can feel authentic and that you can feel loved and, be who you are, and people will accept you and love you for that.
And it's important to say that like, we're still growing. You can still want more. Like, just because you want more doesn't mean you're not enough of who you are right now. You know what I mean? So you can want to be more open with people or more connected or more time to yourself even, or, more authentic or whatever it is. All of these things, like knowing that you want to be more of these things, is just kind of bigger proof that you know who you are, and being okay with that, and being okay with like, this is who I am, flaws, imperfections and all. But I'm okay where I am, and this is where I want to go toward. And I think it's important.
That vulnerability.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's hard, because sometimes, I feel like we put up social media walls, we put up job walls, we put up, relationship walls, all these things that like keep people with a 5-foot pole out and say, don't get near me. I don't want to get hurt, whether it be a past relationship that went sour and now, you don't want to deal with people, or whatever the circumstance is, we have these walls, but, we have to open up ourselves to other people. And the more that we know ourselves and the more that we know that we are enough, then that love will start pouring through, and we'll really feel like we're able to be vulnerable and be able to connect with other people.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I feel like if there's anything you guys get from this whole thing, is that like you don't have to strive to be like more loved or more valued, or like, you are all of those things right now. You were yesterday, you are today, you will be tomorrow. We all grow, we all learn, we all change, and you're exactly who you're supposed to be right in this moment. It's
a journey, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, but you are enough.
You are enough.
You
Absolutely.
are enough. We cannot say it.
Cannot.
You are enough.
You are enough.
I know.
If you have to say it to yourself in the mirror, and I know it sounds silly, do it. Do it every morning. Even if you feel ridiculous and you laugh at yourself, you know what?
I love it,
that's the first laugh of the day.
The thing I would do is like, I would hit him with a blue steel, like, you're enough.
He's not joking. This is exactly what he would do.
just like wash my face in the morning, like, you're enough, and then I'd probably like do a running slide into the kitchen and like grab her and be like, you're enough,
even if it's silly, even if it's however you start doing it, it'll set in.
The repetition of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe after watching this, send a clip of yourself, just saying you're enough to a friend. Maybe that they don't expect it. Maybe you could send this podcast, link it, share it with them a little bit. You don't have, if you want to. It's pretty cool. But yeah, send a little video, send a little voice memo, send a text, that you're enough, that you value this individual. It goes a long way, just reaching out. So
absolutely.
Well, thanks so much for listening to episode 3 of the Emotional Support Penguins podcast.
Yay!
With Joel
and Amanda.
You are loved.
You matter
so much. And you have so much value. We love you guys. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for hanging.
Bye.